Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over the market. Let's go over Tesla. Let's figure out what has happened so far with today's movement, of course. And all that being said, just get an idea. So all that being said and done, of course, don't forget to hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. That's up a lot. And of course, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Make your own decisions, do your own research, all that good stuff. But Tesla, with all that being said and done, is going to be closing the day down 3.35%, putting us at pretty much 180 and a half, per share. So a pretty interesting movement today. So, okay, we talked about, let's just dissect it quickly, right? So essentially yesterday we discussed how off of the close, first of all, CPI came in actually slightly lighter than expected. I think it came out in at 5 and expectations was 5.1, which is good. But then we have the FOMC meetings today, which I forgot to mention, which came in a little hawkish actually. They said that a mild recession is very potential on the horizon, if you will. So that's obviously not what the market wants to hear. And on top of that, of course, we have PPI tomorrow, which is pretty important. So a lot of mixed signals coming in, and the market seems extremely confused. And compared to the market itself, Tesla's also arguably underperforming as well, with the tech down only about just under 1%, while Tesla being down over 3% is definitely an underperformance. But all that being said, right, we said how yesterday on the close, right, we had a pretty bullish candles overall over here. Yesterday we had a pretty confused signal of a close, right? The market wasn't really sure, and I think today that really shows to be the case, because even today the market felt kind of unsure in a way, where in the morning after the CPI print came in, we rallied up and we hit both targets that we talked about yesterday, entering the 190, between the 190 to 200 range, and also the potential retest of about 180 of this overall breakout that we had over here. And we kind of almost did both of them in one day, which I have to admit I did not expect. That was definitely not this was definitely not expected, in my opinion. I didn't think we'll do both things in one day like this, right? Where in the morning, we essentially came up as high as, it seems like, let me take a look here, pretty much 191 and a half. And then today, we pretty much ended at the lows of the day being almost at exactly $180. So definitely all over the place for sure. From the top to the bottom of the day, we actually moved down. If let's say you happen to buy the top today, you're already down 6% on that, which is pretty substantial actually. So so a pretty wild day. But let's talk about it. Let's discuss what has happened, and is it over? Is it bearish? Is the rally done? Is there any hope to still maybe even touch 200? Of course, people were talking about how Tesla's earnings are, of course, next week, which I'm not talking about just yet, because I'm specifically focused on just the remainder of this week. And then Friday is when we can start talking about earnings and how the stock will move relative to potential earnings coming up. But as of right now, there's still more than enough catalyst in front of us, for instance, today and even tomorrow with PPI, which is what the Fed really likes, right? So keep that in mind, right? The Fed really takes a hard look at PPI data. So make sure that, if that's going to be not what's expected in a bad way, that's going to be phenomenal or not phenomenal for the market, and vice versa, of course. So let's, take that into consideration first. And once all that's out of the way, we'll talk more about how the market or how the stock might move, or how Tesla might move relative to, of course, earnings coming up on Wednesday. But all that being said, so we did come up to this pretty much this exact line right here I have drawn at, 191, almost 192-ish level, which again did not move whatsoever. And this is clearly showing a very obvious, I can even move this down a little bit somewhere around here, honestly, right? And this is showing a very obvious, level that, is now a rejection or a resistance, right? Where, here you can see we had massive support, here we had support, here we had support, right? Obviously, it didn't actually fully work out, but you can see that it definitely halted around this area and started kind of going sideways, right? Which shows an area of support and or demand, right? In this case, of course, it is going to be support and resistance. In this case, of course, it is going to be a resistance, because we came up to that exact level, pretty much entered just barely into the 190 territory and got rejected and slapped back down. Now, however, with that being said, as of right now, of course, everything can change tomorrow, and this is why it's extremely confusing and extremely volatile in a way as well. With again, all that being said, the VIX is still just showing no signs of life, which is just, man, this thing is just truly confusing to me right now. This just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Just hard consolidating while the market is just falling, going up. It doesn't matter what the market is doing, the VIX just is not doing anything regardless. But with that being said, as we talked about yesterday, there is a very real possibility that Tesla does come down to around this level, potentially even a little bit lower, in all honesty, just to retest this overall breakout that we had right here, that we we're in this little mini downtrend, if you will. Right, something like this is the downtrend we were in, give or take, right? And the fact that we broke out of it, again, as usual, a retest of the downtrend is extremely common. However, with that being said, we still haven't actually technically retested the downtrend or the uptrend that we did break down from over here, as you can see, right? Over here, where Tesla finally broke down out of this massive, uptrend that we were in, like this whole thing right here, right? The fact that we finally broke down, we actually haven't come up to really, truly retest it, which again, you don't always have to retest these breakouts or breakdowns. So just keep that in mind, but it is pretty common to do so. So as of right now, as it stands of this close, to me, I just view this as a potential retest of this breakout that we had to the top side, right? So it really depends on how PPI comes in tomorrow, but I still wouldn't be surprised if Tesla moves down a little bit further to like 176-ish. And as long as that general level holds, and especially if Tesla does move down there, it recaptures the 180 extremely quickly, ideally within the first hour of trading tomorrow. As long as that happens, and as that's to me is bullish, right? As long as Tesla's above 180, overfalls below to 160 and recaptures within the hour roughly, the 180 mark, that to me is fine. That to me is, if anything, actually more bullish than bearish by pretty substantial amounts, because I'd rather be buying down here on a move to 200 than buying up here on a move to 200. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way I view things, right? So that's kind of more or less the gist of what I am personally seeing at the moment, right? Personally, a little bit more bullish than bearish, but it really comes down to how PPI comes in tomorrow, and if Tesla does fall below 180, can it recapture it back within the hour, the first hour ideally of trading? Because if it does fall below, I do think it'll happen pre-market. It'll open below 180 most likely, and then I'd want to see how it reacts within the first hour to truly determine that, right? But again, in other words, recapturing 180 if it opens below. As the market opens, let's say it opens at 177, if it goes back above 180 within the hour, fantastic. If it doesn't, not so fantastic, right? So those are the main things I'm personally going to be looking at. Now, all that being said, of course, we have the 21 email, which we're still getting rejected by. You can see rejected here, came up, rejected, actually went above it in the morning, and then just completely got slapped back down below it, which is a bearish thing, of course, right? It's not a good sign. We are approaching the red line of this Bollinger Band, and it is getting pretty decently tight, right? So we'll see how that comes to fruition. There's a decent chance, in my opinion, that Tesla doesn't actually do that much. It comes down to this kind of the bottom line of this Bollinger Band, which is pretty much around that 176, which also happens to be the retest of this breakout that we had of this line here. Potentially rallies back up and consolidates up until earnings. That really truly wouldn't surprise me if we do get some consolidation for the most part between 170 to maybe even as high as 200 up until earnings finally come to fruition, which of course is next Wednesday, I believe. So that's something else to consider, right? Of course, we have the 50-day moving average, which is also rejecting us at the very moment, which isn't great, but we still have the 100-day moving average below us at 171 roughly as well. So that's something to look forward to as a bull in terms of support if we do actually come down there. However, if we happen to open below 180 tomorrow morning, as the market opens, let's say PPI came in bad or something like that, right? And the market's red, and Tesla doesn't recapture 180 within the first hour and it's looking pretty bearish, in that case, I definitely would expect a move down to about 170 to very high 160s, probably tomorrow, if not, probably sometime, Thursday or Friday for sure, right? Definitely will be expecting that for sure. So those are the main things I'm looking for. And again, if Tesla does recapture 180, opens below 180 but recaptures it, or just essentially doesn't even open below 180, opens pretty much around this level if not higher, and then continues rallying, then I still personally think that the 190 to 200 is still very much in play. You can still potentially go up there, still consolidate overall within this area, and kind of get like a nothing burger more or less, still kind of in this overall vicinity right here right now. But as long as Tesla again holds this 180 crucial level or recaptures, very important for the bulls. The bears definitely want to see 180 falter and not recover whatsoever back into it. But moving over to TSLA very quickly gives us a better idea as well. This thing is looking, not too shabby. It's actually looking arguably bullish in my opinion, really, which is bad for Tesla, right? So that's why, we'll have to see how it forms out and how it actually plays out. I don't think it means that it just wants to completely rally from here, but the trend to me, at least as of right now, definitely looks a bit more bullish than bearish, right? You can argue that it's looking something like this, right? But before even this happened, you could have easily argued that it's looking something like this instead from here, that it's already broken out of, right? So you can definitely make that argument that it's already broken out of. Now it's kind of, consolidating for the next breakout to come as well, which is bad for Tesla, great for TSLQ, right? So you always can take those things into consideration. The VIX is still the most confusing thing by far, because it's just absolutely, it has done nothing since the 29th of March, which is, that's pretty long ago, man. That's like 2 weeks ago. It's 2 weeks of just nothing, like literally nothing, regardless of what the market has been doing, right? So that's something else to consider as well. But that's kind of the main thing I'm personally looking at right now, ladies and gentlemen. So let me know what you think down below. Again, the key level right now is 180. break below and not recapture, bearish, break below and recapture, bullish in my opinion, short, again, very short term, or not even opening below it and maintaining the 180 just from the start of the market open tomorrow. Also arguably more bullish than bearish, but again, very short term. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.